We started Mālama Honua Ocean where we needed to start, and that was with our friends and family in Alaska. And we're really pleased to have two of the Mallotts here with us today. And we know we always have Byron with us in spirit. And up to speak with us now will be Anthony. Anthony Mallott served as Sea Alaska President and CEO from June 2014 until December 2023. He guided the investment decisions that directly impacted Sea Alaska's people. Yeah, give him a round of applause. And then his eye on the investment management was not just to maximize the profits that would put more money into the hands of beneficiaries, but to manage those resources and assets of the corporation in a way that didn't compromise the culture of the people, that didn't compromise and irreparably damage the environment that upon which they drew identity and provided for their well-being. But he did all that. He managed to increase the profitability of the company as well as launch a number of initiatives that came back to better strengthen their culture and strengthen their environment. He is passionate about working with community. He is Tlingit, Eagle, Sagwaiti. You'll say I'll let him introduce himself and his clan affiliations. But he's a dear friend of Polynesian Voyaging Society. He's on a number of boards, and including ours. And we're really honored and benefit from his leadership. Anthony Mallott.
Gunak Chief, mahalo. It's an absolute privilege for us to be here in witness and in partnership. Honored to be asked to speak today. So, Ganak yuchat du asak, Tsagwedi ayachat, Kwashkekwan yadi ayachat, Koyakan Athabaskan Dutch chan ayachat, Tekwedi yakdachanuchu, Yakan chuya kashli tseki hit dach ayachat. So to us, our lineage, our genealogy is very important. I just shared that I am killer whale. I'm killer whale eagle. Tsagwedi. I'm a child of the Kwashkekwan, the humpy salmon people from Yakutat. I'm a grandchild of the Koyakan Athabaskan, the Yukon River in the middle of Alaska. The Tekwedi, the brown bear people, are my outer shell. And I come from the house that held the village down in Kikwan, Alaska. The Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian people are Pacific Island people. We're a little colder. We have a different language, but we are canoe people, and their livelihood comes from the ocean. We have ancient stories of connections with other Pacific Island people, and we have current stories of connection with Pacific Island people that starts with Herb Kane reaching out to one of our leaders, Judson Brown. And this is, Nainoa has told this story, I'm sure many of you have heard this, so I have a fast forward version of it. It's just connection to connection to connection. Herb Kane, Judson Brown, Nainoa. He tells Nainoa to call my father, Byron Mallott, who is CEO of Sea Alaska at that point in time. Nainoa tells the story, and he asks for the logs. And my dad says yes in the very first meeting. And to us, our wealth is measured by what we give away. So it was an honor. Nainoa asked, how could he give that so quickly? Because it was an honor for us to give that gift. It creates relationships. It gives us relationships. It gives us reciprocity. It gives us respect. And so those trees were that first step to building relationship. So Byron calls Ernie Hillman. And Ernie, go find the 2 largest spruce trees in our 22 million acre forest for these Hawaiians. Ernie, as he does, he knows our forest, but he hasn't seen trees like that in quite a while. None are in any of the short yards. We're still logging at that point in time. So he's got to go find them. He talks with our culture bearers. One in particular, Bob Sanderson from Heidelberg, the southern part of our traditional territory, Ha'ani. And Bob Sanderson points Ernie in the direction. And now Ernie is with Nainoa, showing him the trees. When do you want us to cut it down? Nainoa says no, he won't take the trees. And this is Nainoa's story, so I'm not going to tell that part. But the next step is where me, my brother, and my family come in. We get flown over to the Big Island. I'm a high schooler. Very first time in my life I'm in Hawaii. I don't wear sunscreen. And I get torched and red beyond belief. Why would you ever need sunscreen in Alaska? But we plant koa trees on the Big Island. Alaskans, Hawaiians, other nations. That gives us the right now to go back to Alaska and take the trees that were the gift of Hawaii Loa. The story continues. Wright Bowman creates Hawaii Loa with many others. Hawaii Loa comes back home in 1995. Voyages all the way through the Pacific Northwest into Alaska. Privileged to be part of that, be on many legs, be with Ernie Hillman, be with my father. Nainoa gets his Tlingit name, Dok Denaik. Nainoa is Quashkekwan. He is the same clan as my father. And then my brother starts sailing. So Joey Mallott, he sails from Tahiti to Hawaii. He sails in Aotearoa. He sails from Rapa Nui to Tahiti. And we fast forward a little bit more. I'm now CEO of Sea Alaska. And Nainoa says, I want to do an indigenous connected route around the whole entire Pacific. And I want it to start in Alaska. And so Sea Alaska is now honored again to be a co-host and the planner of the global launch of Moana Nui Akea. And in Nainoa's wisdom, he creates a heritage sail. He's supported by Randy Fong, Neil, others in the concept of this heritage sail. But Nainoa wants to go to Yakutat, Huna, and Klukwan before the launch of Moana Nui Akea. So we sail to Yakutat. Hōkūleʻa is under Wasei Tasha, my dad's clan's sacred mountain, his Atu. They're in front of the Hubbard Glacier, one of the fastest advancing glaciers in the world. They sailed to Huna. Ernie Hillman's, the Duck Dane Ton, their home, the place protected from the north wind. They sailed to Haines Klukwan. They go to Judson Brown's gravesite. There was Judson's family. And now, in Nainoa's words, Byron, Ernie, and Judson are on the canoe, and we can launch Moana Nui Akea with the care and leadership of them being on the canoe, and we will be safe because of their leadership. Nainoa asked me, so tell us about the global launch and what it meant. I already mentioned that giving is such a gift to our people. So what I felt in each of our communities was culture rising everywhere. Culture rising out of the ground, culture rising out of the forest, culture rising out of the ocean, culture rising out of our people, stories that had not been told in generations, songs not sung in generations. We are a hosting people. We host potlatches, if anybody's heard of a potlatch. we gave potlatch, and that's the core of our culture. It's called wuchiach. It's creating balance, it's creating reciprocity, it's creating respect with our closest relations. And that is what I felt. I felt our history being played out in all of the communities that you visited. I felt love, I felt happiness in places that have a lot of hurt. I felt healing, and I felt the relationship building between indigenous people that Nainoa was looking for the entirety of this voyage. So I hope that our communities kicked off the concept as we travel around the Pacific. We are creating relationships, we are creating love, we're creating the opportunity to share stories, we're creating the opportunity to engage and unite in efforts that we all care about. And as a small gift back to Nainoa and PVS for choosing Alaska to be the start, I wanted to share a couple of stories that we don't share our stories easily. They're sacred to us. And I have to thank my ancestors and those Kingaesti and Kinkaudiniq who have invested in me and told me these stories. These stories were told, this was our classroom. These stories were told over days, 100 different lessons in a single one of our stories. And both Kingaesti and Kinkaudiniq would say, their culture bearers who told them the story said, this is not a child's story. This is not a myth. This is our history. This is our reality. And so Yesh is raven. And in a lot of our stories, Yesh is a trickster. Coyote is very similar if you've heard other Native American stories to Yesh. So he's often tricking and doing lessons just by teasing and tricking people in a lot of our stories. But Yesh is also our creator. Yesh is the giver of so many fantastic things to us. And Yesh loves us, is the teachings of these stories. And so the first one is Hawk and Yesh. And Yesh is not a big fan of Hawk. Hawk, and these are ancient. When you ask them how old these stories are, we're talking prior ice ages. We've lived in our homelands for 14,000 years. That's documented, 14,000 years. We have a cultural institute called Sealaska Heritage Institute. They believe that we've been there for 17,000 years, so they're still doing research to add that extra 14,000, 17,000, whatever it is. You're talking ice ages. You're talking biblical flood events. We have an oral history of it all, and these ones are even more. These stories are more ancient than any of our stories. So, Yesh, back in the day, is he won't admit it, but he's jealous of Hawk because Hawk has the biggest beak of any bird in the world, and he walks around with his beak up in the air like that because he's got to hold it so high. And Raven teases him, oh, you can't even walk normal because of your large beak, and Hawk yells, oh, you're just jealous. And so this is the relationship between Hawk and Raven. And again, I have to fast forward these stories. If anybody knew these stories, it would feel different, but I apologize in advance that I have to do this in a quicker fashion. So Raven sees a light out in the ocean. And Raven is the epitome of curiosity. He has to know everything. Anything he sees new, the envision of Raven flying and seeing something shiny, that's Raven. He's always curious. So he sees this light way out in the ocean. He starts flying to it, and he gets so far, he realizes if he doesn't turn around, he's probably going to die. And he just glimpses, he realizes it's a fire way out in the ocean. So he starts flying back, and he actually does. He starts fading, and he falls out of the sky, and he lands on a mat of kelp seaweed. And it's his respite. It saves him. And it's there that he sits, and we have this phrase, "Kokarahana de yuanoshkein," where in those moments where you've tried something, you feel like you failed, you have to stop, you have to take in the observations of what you've just gone through, you have to examine every last resource that you have to envision what is the next thing. Because the light, whatever the reason, the fire out in the ocean was the most important thing that Raven had to get. And so he says, oh my God, I got to go work with Hawk. He's the only one that can fly that far. He's the only one that can get there fast enough. So Raven goes to Hawk, and now he's like, oh, Hawk, you're the fastest flying bird. Your beak is so wondrous. You're the most amazing bird there is. Can you do me a favor? And so he says, Hawk, there's a fire way out in the ocean. You're the only bird that can fly out there, the only being that can fly out there. And he puts a stick in Hawk's beak, hatches the plan. Hawk flies out. He actually reaches the fire. He lights the stick, and halfway back, the stick starts burning his beak. Hawk drops the stick. Comes back, and a lot of our stories have this, not quite trial and error, but just like you're going to hit failures. You just have to try something new. And so a lot of the teachings, the length of these stories would be based on how you come about that next thing to do, how you create the curiosity to find out that next strategy you're going to use. But the fast forward part is Hawk goes back again, a longer stick now. He makes it back 3/4 of the way. And he tries really hard, drops the stick. Third one now, Raven really starts pumping him up. You just got to put your head down, fly faster. And Hawk is into it now. He actually starts letting his beak get burned. So he's holding it further out in his beak, and it starts burning his beak down. And drops the stick again. And now, where Raven had been pushing Hawk based off of his ego, you're the fastest, you have the greatest beak, Raven had to change his strategy and now tell Hawk how important this thing was and how important it was to all Hawk's relatives in his homeland. And that Hawk was the only one that could bring this gift back to Hawk's home. And so this got Hawk going. Last time, comes back, burning his beak down even further, but he makes it back. He drops the fire in Raven's beak. And now we know Hawk with the short beak because he's burned his big long beak all the way down for this gift. And Raven takes the fire, and he goes from north to south, Yakutat, down south, our entire homeland, and he's instilling this fire in everything. The mountaintops, the rocks, the forests, the beings. And that fire is our sacred spirit. Our sacred spirit comes from a fire way out in the ocean. And it is in every last thing within our homelands. And we tell this, or the easy way to say this is Tlinkits have respect for all things. And it's kind of like a mantra. But we have respect for all things because we share the same spirit of place. Because Raven was able to instill the spirit of place in all of us. Another quick gift story. So Raven, and I've been to events, and the commonality of our stories and our people always blows my mind. It's just amazing, and Neil always puts me on the tail end of any event, and everything that I'm going to say has already been said. Every story I was planning on telling has already been used. The story from South Africa is so so amazing to how we think. So Raven, this was back in a time of darkness. The whole entire world was just had a bit of twilight, and Raven would fly over, and the culture's bearers would say his land, fly over his land and see the Tlingit people working in the dark. And he knew that there was a chief at the head of the Nass River, one of our sacred rivers, had the sun, the moon, and the stars in bentwood boxes. And so Raven hatches a plan. He wants to get the sun, moon, and the stars, and he wants to give it as a gift, another gift to our people. And so, like the story here, the raindrop falling into the water, Raven becomes a spruce needle, and he falls into the water cup of the chief's daughter. She drinks it, and now Raven becomes the chief's grandson through his transformation into the spruce needle and now into a baby human child. He is raised in the chief's longhouse, and he finds ways to become the chief's favorite grandson, and then starts crying for the boxes. And again, long story short, Chief gives him, says, no, you can't have those. He keeps crying. The chief can't handle it, so he gives him the stars. And Raven's playing with it. He says, oh, you got to be careful. And Raven plays with it until he's right under the smokestack. And he jumps, opens the box, and the stars are released into the sky through the smoke hole. Same thing goes, cry, I want this box. The moon is in this box, the same exact thing. The moon goes out. And now the chief is really protective of the sun. So this is where the story goes on and on and on about what Raven had to do to get the sun. But he does eventually get it. And now the sun is released into the sky. But our culture bearers would say they're out there just sitting and dangling. There's no light coming from them. And that there's a fourth box. And it's the box of daylight. And so Raven gets this box. And then when he finally gets the fourth box, the box of daylight, he grabs it and he flies out the smoke hole, turns back into Raven, flies out the smoke hole. And the chief realizes that he was tricked by Yesh. But now Raven has the box of daylight. He's out there, but he's not opening it. I haven't, this is a guess. So my guess why Raven didn't open it, he wanted to see again the difference he would create by opening daylight. So he walked the entire lands. The Nass River is the furthest south. Yakutat is the furthest north. He walks the entire homelands of the Tlingit people with this box of daylight, just seeing again the people working in the dark. He gets up to Yakutat and he's starving. He's just walked the entire length, which is the length of California, is our homelands. He's walked that entire length, and he sees these people fishing hooligan, which is a little forage fish, an oily fish. And he asks them for it, and they say no. And he goes, if you don't give me the hooligan, I'm going to open the box of daylight. They all laugh at him. Oh, the chief, everybody knew. The chief down at the Nass River has the sun, the moon, the stars, and daylight. You don't have it. And this is like a first grader telling you a story. If you heard it from our culture bearers in the traditional way, it's just so amazing. But they have these motions. So Raven just lifts it up, and a single ray comes out. And they get so scared, they drop all the hooligan. They run back to their village. Raven gets his meal, but he walks into the village, and he tells them, I have the daylight, and I'm going to release it here in front of all you. And he opens the box of daylight. The sun, the moon, and the stars now have their light. The people are so scared Some people are so scared. A third of our people run into the ocean, and they become the whale people, the seal people, the sea lion people, all the mammals of the ocean. A third of our people run into the forest. They become the bear people, the squirrel people. And he gave us a gift of relationship. His gift is that we are them. The bear people live like us. They have long houses. They have regalia like that. Us, the killer people live like us. We can talk with them when we're in their world. We move in, but we used to, our culture bearers say we used to move in between our worlds much more frequently. I'd love to find out how we get back to that. It's somewhere along our journey, we're going to get back to that when we used to be able to talk to our relatives much more frequently. But it's again this concept of a gift. And the culture bearers would tell us this is our history, this is our foundation. Raven loved you so much, he gave you the sun, the moon, and the stars. Raven loved you so much, he made you brothers with the people of the sea and the forests. And when you have a gift that is so precious, what does a gift become? A gift becomes responsibility. Bruce talked about it. Others talked about it. When you have knowledge, when you have a gift, it's a responsibility to maintain those relationships. It creates a mandate for us to take care of our brothers of the ocean and their brothers and sisters of the forest. And what I'd like to see us, and it's been said so many different ways here, but this is a Tlingit way to say it, a Tlingit story to highlight how important our mandate is to take care of our brethren, is to take that mandate, prove our relationships, prove the 10,000 years of history that we have living in an ecosystem, living in the homeland, living in it in balance, understanding our ecosystem to the nth degree, and shove our way into every management system over our homelands that we can. Use that indigenous knowledge as a gift, highlight it as a gift, create the responsibility for us to be in those rooms and to be the decision makers for what happens in our oceans and our homelands. And I see this happening. That's what Nainoa has been asking for. And we want to be part of it, and we've committed to be part of it by kicking off Moana Nui Akea. And Gunak Chish, one last time for choosing Alaska as the launch point. Gunak Chish.